All right, guys, let me try to do a quick update. I'm going to cover SPY, Bitcoin, Tesla, maybe some of the miners. Okay, so just quick update with SPY. We called this rounding bottom out, and then I also called last week that we would do a five-wave structure, in which I think we would complete. And I was looking at this to be a five-wave structure, and then we pull back. But for the last 2 days, we've extended this rally, which is making me a little bit uncomfortable because we're moving too much, especially with these last 2 days having extremely bad market breath. A bunch of stuff was down 5 to 15% today, so that's not good with the continued rally because of I've been talking about it for weeks, right? About the May pullback, and I called this pullback this week, and everything's pulling back except the indexes, which I don't like that, right? I wanted this to kind of start pulling back here and then us start to bottom out down here again for a rally higher. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the week we pull back and we have something like that, but I think whatever is going to come from next Wednesday. Next Wednesday is the CPI data, right? The inflation data. And for the last 3 months, it's been trending upward, which to me, 3 months is a trend, but the Federal Reserve said it's not. So the market's been trucking along even though we've had 3 months of bad data or semi-bad data. But next Wednesday will be the fourth month in which, I think whatever the direction the data gives us is probably the direction the market's going to do, right? Um, if the inflation data is better than expected, I think, by then we'll probably pull back down here and then we'll follow this yellow path. And that's what I've been anticipating is like the big rally going into um, from like May to July/August. Now, if the inflation data is bad, this could be an ABC structure where we go down to the 465 area I've been talking about, right? Like maybe instead of this being the way forward, we're going to this way forward. So it's something we need to keep in mind, which is why I've been talking about having cash going into this week. I'm only about 16% cash. I wanted to have 20 to 30% cash, but Tesla's not been following the path, projected price path that I had, which we'll talk about in a minute. But at this time, you know, what I see five waves. So either we're going to pull back going into next week, or this could be a wave one, two, and then this is an extended wave three, right? Where we do something like this. Maybe that can happen. I'd hope that doesn't happen because that would not be any of the plans I had. And if that does, then that's going to probably mess with the entire thesis of mine. But at this given moment, we're at about five waves up and we're due for a pullback. So I've been talking about this pullback. Hopefully, you guys have, um, you know, increased your cash position. I wish I got to over 20%. I did not. One of our larger positions is Tesla. Now, even if we pull back this month, I think the probabilities we go higher. And, even if Tesla pulls back to like 170, I think we're going to be over 210 by mid-June. So, and we have dated contracts, so we shouldn't experience any type of real decay. It'll just look ugly on the P&L if it pulls back. The other thing that I'm worried about, which is why I'm cautious, is what I posted Friday, right? So if you look right here, oh, what is that? And right here, which is this week, this looks like the same algorithm, which this is what I was talking about before, right? So we had 3 down weeks, 2 up weeks. 3 down weeks. We're currently at 2 up weeks, but I'm kind of think that we end up going red on the week by Friday. And if we do, then this really is going to be playing out. And this looks like the same algorithm because even we bounced off of 55 RSI on the weekly to 62. Same thing here. Now currently the RSI is higher, but this is an active week, right? So if this goes red, then this tail will flip back down and it'll be a rejection just like this one, which is what I want to keep an eye on. Because what this is telling us is that current algorithm is possibly for this wave 4 if inflation data is bad. Now I've seen them do stuff like this and flip the algorithm and then we go higher. But if we close the week red and this tails down, that's going to be a big sign for us to look at. Similar look on QQQ. Like everything's rallied pretty hard. A lot more than I wanted to with this 5-wave structure and then us already being at near all-time highs. I wanted a little bit of a rally and then start to pull back so that we can go higher, but we'll see what happens going into the rest of this week. Tesla's not playing nice at all. I have this as a projected, 5-wave structure, and technically we haven't even broke, the invalidation level. This is still a higher low, but this is not a nice candle. This close is very ugly, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if we break this tomorrow, because this is starting to look like an ABC, right? So my initial analysis was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I was really wanting to see this 195 to 205 area hit, and then we were going to trim our contracts, which would have given us 30% cash. But what kind of looks like it's playing out is instead of us getting up here, this could be like an ABC structure, but this looks like an ABC structure here, right? And if we start breaking down, we could see this 156 to 167 area. So if we go to break under this 176, this previous pivot low, I may go ahead and call to sell one of the contracts just to free up more cash. Because if we go down here, that'll probably be another 15% drop in the contract. So I'd rather just go cash some just to kind of mitigate risk. There's a possibility we rally tomorrow, but it's just not looking likely. I've been calling for this pullback this exact week the entire time. And unfortunately, we're just getting weakness here. And if we get this pullback here, realistically, I don't think that's a 5-wave structure, and that's probably an ABC structure. And then there's going to be like an ABC here, and then an ABC higher, which is possibly what we would see. To like 230, yeah. So that could be what happens, because on the larger degree, I was thinking that this is like an A, B, C, right? But it could be an A, B, C, D, E. So we have to see what happens this week. Now there was just some China news about Tesla being approved to try robotaxi in China just about 30 minutes ago. So we got to see what happens there. But at this point, even though the chart looks ugly, it's still valid technically. But this isn't a good look, in my opinion. This is not a good look. The only bullish thing I see here after this chart development is the low volume pullback. But this was just manipulation. Like, this was a curl, right? This is a bullish candle, this is a bullish candle, this is a semi-bullish candle. And then we're curling, and then we gap down under yesterday's price action, and then we just sell right off. This is just pure manipulation, very fucked up. But if we break below this 176, this is a gap, and I'd rather not ride this gap down, So we may sell something tomorrow just to free up the cash so we can get over 20%. Bitcoin had a really nice rally, over the weekend, which I called. The big thesis has always been 59,800, and then this 50% fib retracement, and so far it's respected it. Now we got down to the 50% fib, around the 56,000 area that I kept talking about, but we also bottom wicked out of it and then closed above 63,000. That's a very bullish candle, and that also fits both theses. Maintaining above 59,800 It can wick under it, but as long as it rejects, it shows a lot of buy demand. So all of these wicks right here shows pretty good buy demand around like under 61,000. The thing is, even though that's a bullish candle, uh, the MACD, weekly MACD went red. So even though it's a bullish candle, the more probable outcome is we're not going to go straight up here. The more probable outcome is we're probably going to chop sideways for like 2 weeks, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if something like this happens maybe. Like this would be the best case scenario, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like, even more sideways action and then higher going into like the third week of May. Because I didn't really expect to go higher this week, and we went a lot higher on SPY. I was expecting there to be a sell-off, which we got the sell-off in the broader market, but in SPY we did not, which I hate that because when the broader market pulls back, it still has to most time follow SPY, the ETS. So even though our other stocks pull back, if SPY starts pulling back here and pulls back down here, that's going to be a big drop in the overall market, which is why I'm almost leaning towards that. Maybe that we have a parabolic rally that's kind of like this because it doesn't always follow like the rules of the light wave theory. Like this wave three, like look at that. It was just straight up parabolic, barely any pullback. So we could experience something like that again because it's like if you look at it, it kind of looks like that. Literally, honestly, kind of looks like this right here. What? Uh, okay, check this out. Up, down, three red candles, and then three green candles, and a red candle, and a red candle. And it's the exact same red candle. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. That's interesting. Okay, that looks a lot like that one. All right. Anyways, so that would be the best case scenario because that means that there would not be a pullback, right? If there's not a pullback, then that'd be amazing, right? If there was to play that exact role, we'd have a sideways day tomorrow, a gap up Friday. Well, tomorrow's Wednesday, right? Yeah. Gap up Thursday, sell off Friday, going into next week, sell off into inflation, and then a rip. Dude, like that's how I would picture. That's how I pictured originally the thesis, but in a different format. But that kind of up down movement, and then us bottom on the Wednesday, and then rally. Yeah, that would be amazing. But we have to keep an eye on this because even though that actually looks like the algorithm, like we need a plan for the worst case scenario. And even this isn't the worst case scenario. So we need to maintain cash. I'm not really big on buying anything this week. I'd rather the market prove itself. You know what I mean? We made a lot of money the last few weeks. We're getting a little bit of a pullback. We have some cash. We just need to let the charts develop. We need to see the sell-off happen and see how the market responds. Right? If we have the sell-off happen, then stocks could drop 20%. And I'd rather not buy now. Right? So we need to keep our eye on that. The more probable outcome, like I said, with Bitcoin is something like this. I definitely think we're going to have a pullback before we go higher, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a sideways chops for 2 weeks, going into like the end of May and then we rally. Same thing with ETH. ETH and Bitcoin look phenomenal. They're both at a wave four thesis, and they both bounced, right? So I bought these lows and I trimmed up here, and now I'm just going to wait. And if we get back down here, I'm going to buy a little bit more, just because it's so close to this invalidation level. And so far, as long as it holds it, we're good. And if Ethereum does that, the minimum should be about 5,000, which is like over a 60% move. 72% move. Mara, we got the higher high, which is beautiful. I wouldn't be surprised if we get, pullback. But right now, we really need to get over this one, but this is a higher high, higher low, higher high. Now I'm looking for a higher low. This is demand here, and this is the 1561%, and then we're also on the 3-day demand here. There is demand zone right there, but realistically, until we see the indexes pull back, I'm not even going to buy it there. I'd rather the indexes pull back and it prove itself, and me not buy it down here, and me buy up here on the way back up, just for the safety measurement, right? Something similar with Riot. right? It's showing a little bit of weakness. We took a little bit of nibble up here just because of that higher high on Mora, which isn't that big of a deal. It's just a couple $100. I wanted to get like $2,000 each in each miner. But right now, this could be a higher low. But if Bitcoin shows weakness, that could be an ABC structure and then take us down to this demand. Now, if we get down to this demand, I'm going to add to it just because that's a clear line in the sand, right? Same thing with Wolf. Wolf's doing pretty decent. This looks like it's in a larger um, third wave. It should take us to $5, which is 100% move from here. I wouldn't be surprised if, when things do pop off, if Wolf gives us the fastest gains the quickest. But yeah, there's a bearish thesis here, but most of this stuff can't go much lower, I don't think. So I'm thinking like that doesn't fit my original thesis. I think we fucking rally hard as fuck by the end of May, all the way to July. That's my thesis, and that's what I'm trading around. Now, with what I've been doing with trading is, I don't want to close our positions completely. I'm trying to trade around a core position. I want us to have like 40 to 60% of a position, and then us trade like 40-ish% of a position size. So we can make a little bit money in the meantime, but we have the most of the position for the larger move. Because I believe by July, Mars is going to be over $30, maybe even over 40, right? I think Tilray will be over $5. I think NEO will be over $10. I think Tesla will be over 220. So we don't want to sell too much. So we're going to have kind of a high fluctuation in our P&L, but that's why we keep getting cash and then selling high and then buying low, just waiting for the dips. And right now, during this uncertain time, I just don't want to buy anything until it proves itself because there is a bearish case where the market breaks if inflation's bad. So I'd rather just have 20% cash just because, but that's my thought process. The market hasn't given us a lot of clues this week. It's very unfortunate, but I gave you guys what I can with this week. I would really like to see something with Tesla, change. Otherwise, we have to sell something at a loss. We have to sell, an option contract just to, mitigate risk. But yeah, that's all. I will give you guys updates tomorrow on Tesla because I'm definitely going to be eyeballing that 176 area, which we're literally $1 away. And yeah, I'll let you guys know. All right, cheers.